All right, we're just about 24 hours away between that super high-stakes meeting between President Trump and Vladimir Putin in Anchorage, Alaska. Some reports suggesting Trump could offer Putin access to rare earth minerals. It's kind of a carrot to help him end the war in Ukraine. Here now with more on what to watch is Michelle Caruso-Cabrera, CEO of MCC Global Enterprises, CNBC contributor. You came up to me before the show and you said commercial diplomacy. What is commercial diplomacy?
Well, Trump is a deal person, and he wants to offer. He's given sticks. He's threatening sticks. You know, he's going to sanctions, right? Sanctioning India for buying Russian oil, threatening to sanction Russia if they don't do a deal. The carrot is these reports that there would be a critical minerals deal with Russia. So this is very, very typical Trump. He thinks in commercial ways, and he thinks in deal ways. And so I'm not surprised that this would be reported as something that he's going to offer. The question is,
does Putin care?
Does Putin want it, and does Putin care? Yeah. And, you know, I think the most likely outcome of this meeting is an agreement to another meeting. I mean, President Trump has said as much. The likelihood of a ceasefire immediately, very unlikely, I would say.
Yeah, I think there is a school of thought in diplomacy. I know Winston Churchill said this before the war began. Of course, this is before the war began, so then the war ended up beginning, which is basically if you're talking, you're not fighting. But this is not our war. This is Ukraine's land. This is the Ukrainian people. They're proud. Whatever Putin and Trump agree to, Vladimir Zelensky and the Ukrainian people are going to be the ones who make the decision.
Oh, absolutely. And President Trump has said that as much. At the top of your show, Trump was speaking in the White House saying what he wants to do is have this meeting and almost immediately, if possible, have yet another meeting that Zelensky is in at this point. So he's very clear that he wants the two of them to make a deal. The question is, what incentives and what sticks can he help bring to the table that might actually bring the two of them together?
Well, there's also the other side. We talked about this a little bit with Halima Croft earlier, which is what if it goes bad? What if this goes wrong? You know, Putin cusses out Trump. They storm off, right? Putin's pissed. Now he's sending more people to die, like we just talked about. What's the negative outcome? There is a negative possibility, and Trump says, fine, we're going to really sanction you this time. Not the sort of the phony sanctions we had on before, real sanctions.
Well, as Halima highlighted.
And oil goes to 100 a barrel.
There's lots that hasn't been done. You could do sanctions on the shadow fleet, secondary sanctions on anybody doing business with the shadow fleet that you mentioned. These are these old tanks that are out there delivering oil.
Shouldn't even be on the oceans,
They shouldn't be on the ocean. They're not insured.
No, they're going to break in half and create an environmental disaster.
They turn off their tracking mechanisms. They could start imposing limits on how much LNG they export. They could do secondary sanctions to reduce the amount of LNG that is purchased by European countries. I mean, there's a lot of room because they haven't done secondary sanctions.
But that would require economic pain here in the United States and in Europe as well. Yeah. Let's be clear. And people could say, that's fine. I get it. It's a gross thing to say. But it's the reality. You can say, fine, you know what? We're going to take gas to $6 a gallon because screw Vladimir Putin. We're going to bankrupt him. Because as somebody has pointed out, Russia is a gas station with nuclear missiles.
Yes. A former president, I think.
I believe that one. I'm just paraphrasing everybody today.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why you saw Trump allow Chevron to go back in Venezuela, because he's looking for other levers, because he does not want oil prices to go higher. He does not want gas prices to go higher. So if he can get production somewhere else, that gives him more leverage with Iran. It gives him more leverage with Russia as well.
But if you want to end the war and you want to do it through cutting off their money, which was what we were sold a couple years ago. Remember that?
Yeah.
We're going to sanction Russia and cut off their money supply. People are like, oh, they're going to be bankrupt in 9 months. The Russian economy, by all accounts, we don't have a lot of windows into it, seems to be doing okay.
So the Russians themselves say that the last 2 years, their economy actually grew 4% each year.
Well, they never were a real... First off, they're not much of an importer.
Right.
And the only thing they really exported was energy. And they're still doing that, just at slightly lower prices through these old ships.
And they're producing all kinds of weaponry. They're doing all kinds of military manufacturing, which is why you would see their GDP rise up.
Where are they getting all this money?
Well, they had a very large sovereign wealth fund that they've been eating away at. It used to be more than $180 billion. Now it's roughly $34 billion.
So that will run out at some point.
That will run out. So there are some economists who believe that this year is a crucial year when it comes to Russia because they have been eating away through their reserves. That by the second half of the year, They have such a large deficit. The commerce minister in St. Petersburg in June at the big forum said out loud that he thought the Russian economy might be on the verge of a recession and that they were running out of money, that their deficit was 30% bigger than their target. Why that matters for Russia in particular is they cannot borrow on the international markets. So we fill our deficit. Why? How?
We sell debt. People buy it.
Debt,
well, they
right?
can borrow it from China.
Yeah.
China will loan them money.
Maybe.
At a price.
At a price.
At a price. At a high price.
But despite the closeness that we see between Russia and China, they've always distrusted each other dramatically. So Putin doesn't necessarily want to do that. But this year could be the year where he faces issues.